This is Jonathan Lloyd. Jonathan is the customer success manager at SentriLock. He has experience in account management and customer service sales for over 20 years. He prides himself on being responsive to and working with his clients to ensure the partnerships are as meaningful as possible, positively impacting their business needs. Jonathan lives in Goshen, Ohio. I did tell him he was not allowed to mention Ohio State. His youngest, he lives in his wife's youngest son. Does that mean you have another one that's gone?
Yeah. He's
Okay.
married, moved out. Yeah.
Okay. And their dogs. In his time outside of work, he enjoys being and attending sporting events. So Jonathan is our go-to person when we have issues with the lock boxes. He is extremely responsive. And so today he's going to walk you through maybe some things you didn't know that you could do. And I know he's going to leave time for questions.
Yes.
Because there's going to be questions. So welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you all. Happy to be here. Glad to get the invite for Karen to let me come. And I've been managing the account for Realcomp, great partnership for the last 3 years. And it's my first opportunity to come and physically be for an event. So excited to be here. And real quick, before we get started, I told Karen this earlier. I am from Ohio, but I went to the University of Cincinnati. So my friends drive me nuts about that other college up in Columbus that you guys don't really care for. So I am more of a Michigan guy for football than my buddies back in Ohio State, just to give them a little bit of a jab now and then. So hopefully that makes it a little bit more welcome here. So very good. But yeah, so as Karen was alluding, not really training per se. I'm going to go over a lot of things that you guys may already know, but some that you may not. I've gotten a lot of questions at the booth, and we'll have time at the end. But if we run out, or if you guys think of something later, I will be here the rest of the day. So just come over and see me. I've already got a good amount of feedback on some things that'll be talked about during my session here. This one kind of starting out, obviously, we've been partners with Realcomp for multiple years. I've managed, like I said, their account for the last 3 years. It's been a great partnership. And, they invested in the security, which is why we love what we do, the security of the electronic lockbox. Up on the screen, I'm not going to read them verbatim here. You guys can see, but, there's a real advantage in security for your clients and their properties that you guys are listing and selling and deals that you guys are doing to have an electric lockbox compared to the mechanical combo boxes. Credentialing, that's a big thing. People can only get into the electronic lockbox if they have the credentials to do so. Mechanical lockboxes, they can be, accessed by anybody who has the information and really at any time. Auditing, that's a big thing. One of the things that people love the most. We have our events log on our boxes, our access log that shows who's been in, when they went in, how they got in. No record on a mechanical lockbox, obviously, of any of those entries. And then just control. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but you can give people who don't have the access you do with the SentriKey app as partners. You can give them access to a property and it's documented. You can give them privileges and you can also pull those privileges back. It's a product called Sentry Connect. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. So just some quick hits on the differences between the electric and the mechanical lock boxes. Obviously, you guys are using our products, so you already see that benefit. But just something to kind of highlight there of why we exist to begin with. I did forget to mention, there will be an opportunity at the end to do questions. So if we're going through it and you have questions, just hold those and then we can address them at the end. And again, like I said, I'll also be at the booth. Okay, most of you probably already have access to our product. So, if not, Realcomp, the association office, Karen and the team there, they can help you with that, get you signed up. Once you're signed up, you would get credentials. The main things you need, if you don't already have it set up for the app to work on your device, is a SentriKey ID, a password, and a PIN. What happens is once you're entered into the system, that information comes over to us at SentriLock into our system, and an invite goes out to you guys to activate and validate your account. Once you activate and validate your account with these credentials that you'd be given at that time, you then have access on your device with the app to be able to interact with the lockboxes. So you have to have the access on your device to utilize that for the Bluetooth connection for the communication and use of the lockboxes. Once you set your account up, you have all of that. So when you get the credentials and you've validated and activated your account, you get the device on your phone, either Apple and Android, doesn't matter. And I don't want to start that conversation between who's Apple and who's Android, right? But works on both platforms. Once you have the app on your phone, your device, use your login credentials. This is what the screen will look like. Once you go in, it's going to ask you, and for those of you who've already done it, it's going to ask you different things. It's going to have you set up if you want facial recognition, use a PIN, fingerprint ID. It's going to have you do all of those things. If you want to turn on a feature that we're going to talk about later called agent safety, it takes you through all those prompts. You only have to do that the first time you sign in and log in. And then every other time you go in, your screen would be just, look just like it does when you first log in, where you just access the box. So I'll skip back there. So obviously looking at the screens here, we've got, the SentriKey ID in there. It's going to ask you about this user agreement the first time you sign up. You do have to accept that. And then once you get in, it's going to take you through prompts of how you want to set up your account, your device. So Face ID, this is, if you don't want to use a PIN, you can set up Face ID, and what that is, that's your verification piece for when you're utilizing the box. So you can set up a biometric scan, so you can use Face ID, fingerprint ID, or you can just use the PIN. And where that comes into play is when you access a box, that's your security verification to allow the box to know that you're the person that's able to give those commands to open that box to get the key out, or to release the shackle to put the box on the property if it's your listing. Only lockbox owners can release the shackle. Anybody who has the SentriKey real estate app who's a partner that's taken a client for a showing at your client's property or your listing, they have the ability to open the key compartment. And then the PIN also, as I mentioned, it's usually a 4-digit PIN. So you have 3 things of verification are PIN, facial recognition, or fingerprint. So once you get everything set up on your app, it will eventually, I'm trying to get to the screen. It'll look like, if there's one in here, I'm not certain, but once you get it set up, it'll ask you, get to this point, agent safety. So does anybody use agent safety or know what that is? Okay, I see a few. Do you guys like that feature? No? Okay. Gotcha. You do like it? Okay. I don't get offended either way. I like to get the feedback. So you guys can be honest as we're going through this. I always take it back, but I've heard both, and I can see where both it'd be great. And then also too, where it can be a little, but you can always also turn it off if you don't want it anymore, if it is getting too annoying as well. But what this is, and I think we go a little deeper into it as later on, but this is a feature that when you turn this on, for those of you who don't use it, it's an additional feature for you to have some safety and security. So if you're out at a property and you're with a client that maybe you don't really know, or you just feel a little uneasy, this feature will allow, when you access the box, from the moment you access the box, it starts a 90-second countdown to where you acknowledge on the app that you feel secure. If you don't respond within that first 90 seconds, there's another 60-second countdown that starts. And then at that point, if you still don't respond on the app to let the app know you're good, it'll send out a message to individuals that you set up from your contacts, or your people that are to be made aware that, hey, if you get this, that means something could be up and I need some help. So it's a feature for you guys when you're out there in the field. My wife, she doesn't do it full time now, but she's had her real estate license for 20 years. I didn't know long ago that I'd be in the industry doing something as well. But it's helped me in my seat with SentriLock to understand all the years of seeing her go through it. And I remember just hearing stories early in her career, multiple years ago, that, were a little bit scary. So obviously in the world we live in today, it's much, much worse. So we felt like this was an opportunity to, give you guys a little bit more safety and security if you choose to use this feature. If you turn it on and then you don't want it anymore, you can turn it off. If you don't turn it on right away and decide you want it later, you can turn it on whenever. It's in your profile and your settings in the app. I do like to highlight with agent safety, excuse me, it is not it's not 911. So This disclaimer will come up that you see on the screen. If it is a true emergency, you want to dial 911 right away, do your normal emergency protocol that way, right? That we all would use. This is not going to dial 911 in emergency. It's only going to reach out to the people that you select as your contacts. All right. Okay, so once you have logged on, this is the screen I was looking for. So once you have logged on, set everything up how you want it. First time, when you're logging up your app. Once you've done it all, anytime you go back into it, it's going to look like this home screen that you see right here. So once you've done all your initial setup, so has everybody, most individuals in the room, have you already set your account up long ago? You've been using it, or there's some new users that just recently set their account up? So a little bit of a mix. Okay. So once you set it up, this is your screen when you go into the app. And you can see on the screen here, we have what we call some hot buttons that are some commonly used things. So we've got like release shackle, access log, get an access code. This up here, this is just a visual of how you start every process. So as you guys know who have used it, when you approach a box, first thing you're going to do to get your device and the box communicating through the Bluetooth signal is hit that ENT button on the box. The box will beep. It'll start a blue light blinking, and then that starts the communication through the Bluetooth connection with your device and that lockbox. So you can start giving that lockbox commands. Again, if you're releasing the shackle, you would start here with this button. Only the lockbox owners are going to release the shackle. And you'd only use that when you're putting the box on the property. Yes. Okay, well, yeah, I'll take these couple, but then if we can hold them till the end after this, just so we can make sure we get through everything. But go ahead, sir. Uh-huh. So you can. It's not something that we have in the presentation to talk about, but I can answer to it. So, well, first off, depending on what permission level you have in SentriKey, it could give you the authority to do it. But what would most likely need to happen in your case, and we can talk about it if you want to come to the booth, like directly for what you're going through. But say you have somebody who's the lockbox owner, and they're having somebody that's partnering with them or whatever to do those things, like run the boxes out, whatever, right? In the SentriKey, you can become a team member. But are you an agent, or do you have access to SentriKey on your own? Okay. So for you, the releasing the shackle part is going to be a little difficult. Yeah, you would have to have access on an account. It doesn't have to be like where you can do a lot of things, a permission level, but you would need an account in SentriKey for that person to add you as a team member, and then you'd be able to function with all the permission levels they have. It's two separate things. So if you have MLS access to get SentriKey access, you would need Realcomp to send your information over to us. And then you would need to activate, like I just was sharing at the beginning, activate and validate your account within SentriKey. And then you would download the SentriKey app on your phone, and then you would have the access. But in that scenario, unless it's your box that you own, you still wouldn't be able to release the shackle unless you're added as a team member to the person who owns the box. Because again, only lockbox owners are going to be able to release the shackle. Did you have one, sir? Mm-hmm. Well, so two different variations of what you're saying. So if the person individually owns the boxes, they can add you as a team member as long as you have a SentriKey access as well, right? And then you can access their boxes as if same they do, because it's almost like you're an owner of them too, because you're a team member with that person that owns the boxes. In an office setting, we have a feature called Lockbox Sharing and Lockbox Show All. So if it's an office setting where the broker owns all of the boxes and you guys just are part of that office and you just grab a box to use it, but they're all owned. Like if Jonathan Lloyd's the broker, you're in my office and I have lockbox sharing turned on, enabled for my office, you could grab one of the boxes that technically I own off the shelf, but because you're part of my office and that lockbox sharing's enabled, you would be able to take that box and do whatever you need to do with it because you're part of my office. Yes. Yep. So the good question. And they do 7 years is the battery life on the boxes that you guys have, the version that you have. So if you're coming up about 5 years, I always put myself in your guys' shoes. Best practice, even though we say 7-year battery life with weather, extreme cold, how much they're being used. I always say 5 years is probably would be my gauge of when I would change those batteries out. So there are batteries that the association office has available that we send to them. So you can get the batteries and then you can swap your batteries out. But the batteries are, you could, yeah, Home Depot and Lowe's and places like that, I believe some. It's a CR123A is the battery type. That would be a question for, yeah, I was going to say that'd be a question for Karen and her team. I can't remember off the top of my head. So, okay. All right. CR123A is the battery. And I'll take yours, sir, and then we'll jump back and we'll save for the end, to the end, if you guys don't mind. Yeah. Yeah. So the boxes do send out or should send out a low battery notification, but being completely transparent with you guys and to not get you in a situation, I would say to kind of just do your due diligence of like making sure that you're changing the batteries out when you feel like it's been that 5-year point or whatever, because the notifications sometimes can fail and not go out. So I don't want you to be in a position where that the notifications go out, you think you're fine, then all of a sudden it's dead on the door. Now, if it does die on the door, to add one more thing here, if it does die on the door, there are items that you can get that Realcomp has at the association office as well to take, to put into the box, to give it enough juice to get the box off and then get the battery. So if it dies on the door, you don't have to immediately go to like getting it cut or getting it taken off the door. The batteries are exchanged, can be exchanged, can be replaced. All right. Okay. Good questions. And that's a lot of what I got when I was out at the booth is two things. We're going to talk about here in the presentation, and then the batteries. So I'm glad those questions came up so we could address it in the group setting here with the batteries. Yeah. So when you open it, on the back panel, when it's opened, I can't remember off the top of my head if it's 1 or 2 screws, but it's just one. Yeah. 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 I agree. So 7-year life, and I think it's been like 2019 or so since we rolled them out. So you're right at that point. So yeah, if you haven't switched them for a while, that would be my recommendation as well. Yeah, if you provide the serial number, they'd be able to look it up and see. They can see like the warranty expiration on it. And you actually, with your credentials, which I'm going to talk about here, there's a website. Your guys' credentials to get on the app also is on we have a website that you guys can use those same credentials to get on your desktop computer, your laptops or whatever. And you can go and look up your own lock boxes on that site. And there's an events log where you can see the events log shows everything that's ever happened in the life of that box. The access log shows just the accesses. So you can look at your events log on that lockbox yourself and see when it was the first time it was ever utilized and have a timestamp. Yep. All right. So in lieu of time with these good questions, I'm skipping through. So let me ask just a general question. Has everybody in here since using it or new do you all feel comfortable with like opening the key compartment and assigning boxes to properties? Okay. So I'm going to skip through these screens that you're seeing right now. This is all like step by step. This would be part of more of like our training on how to release the shackle and assign the boxes to a property. But I feel like you guys have done that and been partners for so long. If you guys have any questions on it, come see me at the booth and we can talk through it. All right. Yeah. Doesn't make sense is to alert. Okay. So the key missing is meant to be a button that you can hit if you open the box and there's no key in there. And it should alert the listing agent that the key's gone. So are you finding that that's not happening? Okay.
It's not worded in such a way that is the key. Yeah. Or keys missing, no, it's the opposite.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it's not logical.
Gotcha. I will take that away and see if we can maybe just do an update to update.
Still that way because it's like.
Yeah, I'll be completely transparent. I have not hit the button on one for quite a while either. And even when I did the last time, I don't really remember doing any prompts other than it just turns that button on to where I just thought the alert like went to the listing agent. And I know that the listing agents do get those alerts and then are notified. So I didn't know that there was another layer of question there.
It's like I said. Yes or no, I mean, I think again, I just know what to hit so it doesn't send you.
Gotcha. Okay. How comfortable is everybody on access logs? Like, you guys understand what the access log is on your device? Like I showed you on the home screen, you click that and you can look up the box and it'll show you who accessed it, how they accessed it. Okay. So we're going to skip through that too, because I really want to go into Sentry Connect and then some troubleshooting steps about what I've heard out here in like the rural areas where you guys can't connect. I want to get to that too. And I got, yes, hold one moment. I've got 23 minutes. So yeah, we got some questions still rolling in. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a loaded question because there's not much that we can do as far as our perspective to make people make that effort or change, right? I will tell you that certain associations, they all deal with this. It's not just you guys. I hear it everywhere I go. But the association, there's some that regulate it to where if they know that people are abusing it, that could have access, that just aren't getting access, or because Century Connect is not for real estate agents. They're not for licensed folks. Like, in fact, our system should block them from using this product that we're going to talk about or this in a moment, because they're registered with the MLS. It should only be like inspectors, contractors, stagers, photographers, like what we would call affiliate members. They're the only ones that should be using this. As far as them asking for codes, and if they have the ability to use the product or they just don't care to use it or whatever, some associations regulate that to where if they hear that, those individuals that are the people that do that all the time, they do whatever they do with them. I don't know if they fine, I don't know, whatever that association decides to do. Some of them make it mandatory to have the service, some of them don't. So I can't really solve for it just because I can't change everybody and their mentality, and it does happen everywhere. But Century Connect is not to be utilized and shouldn't be utilized by licensed real estate agents. And our system should block that. So I don't think they're using this product, but that doesn't continue from them to asking you on codes. Let me get your question, ma'am, and then I'm gonna go get through the rest of this, and then we'll have time at the end. And again, I will be at the table till the end of this. So if we don't get everything done in here, I'm out there as well. Yes. Yeah. That. Yeah. 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 It's called access by appointment is what it's called. ABA is the acronym. So if you only want people to be able to access a property with an approved showing during a certain window of time, you have to turn that feature on. So I talked about agent safety. That's a feature that if you turn on, that's anytime you access a lockbox, it's going to prompt you on agent safety. For access by appointment, it's a lockbox specific feature. So if you have 3 properties, but you only want to monitor by approved showings that they can only get in at these times, you would turn the access by appointment on for the box on that property. So in a little bit, this will be helpful for everyone. There is going to be a link on one of my slides. It's to a training link. On that training link, there's tons of resources, videos, 1 minute to 1 minute 30 seconds in length, one of which is on access by appointment. So that might be one that you want to, kind of look at there. Your second point that you were making, if you have a chance, come see me at the table. I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you were talking about there. And because I think there I need a little bit more of like a direct example to look in to see what's really going on. So if you have an opportunity, come see me. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yeah, she wouldn't be able to though. That would be a request you'd have to make with the association office. And then they could either do it, Kay and the team there, or ultimately if they needed me, I could do it as well. They just need the lockbox serial number. So if the person just donated you a lockbox and get in your ownership and you have an extra lockbox, I guess. So, yep. All right. So Century Connect, I want to get through this. I got my timer up here. I got about 15 minutes left or so, I think. And I'm the only thing between you guys and lunch. So, or actually, am I at time right now? I'm not even sure. But SentriConnect, this is a second app that people can download. But as I said earlier, this is for this affiliate members. This is for inspectors, stagers, photographers, those folks that don't have access or don't want to pay for monthly access for SentriKey like all of you have with all the bells and whistles. They can download the SentriConnect app on their device just like you download the SentriKey app. There's the icon of that looks different than the SentriKey app. It's that little key symbol. You can download that. Once they download, there it is there. Once they download and register for that app, what can happen is then you guys as the paying partner, you can take and grant them access as the partner. So if you have a photographer that needs to go into a property and get photos for you for a listing you're putting live, you can tell them, okay, I'm going to grant you SentriConnect access. You grant it from your app to them for a duration of time. Let's say they need 3 days, right? Maybe it's a contractor doing some work. They need 3 days. Let's say they get done in 1. With SentriConnect, you can revoke that access back after that 1 day. You can pull those other 2 days back. So the difference between codes and the SentriConnect is 2 big things. The codes, once you give them, they're good for that whole duration of time. There's no way to revoke them. SentriConnect, you give it for a duration of time, you can revoke that access. All right, so a little bit more security there. With SentriConnect, the person has to actually use their device with the Bluetooth connection through their SentriConnect app to access the property. It's going to give you notifications like it would if you were using the app directly, and it's going to only allow them to use it. With a code, if I have the code and I give this other guy the code, during that duration of time that code's good, he can use it just like I used it, right? So, nice tune there. So SentriConnect is that product. So this is really developed for like inspectors, stagers, photographers, folks like that don't need the membership all of the time. Now, some inspectors and photographers and people, they use it enough, they don't mind having the monthly subscription. Was anybody kind of familiar with SentriConnect already? Does that clarify a little bit? I wanted to make sure. Okay. No, it'd be in your SentriKey app. So if you go, we call it the hamburger menu. In the top left, that 3 lines looks like a hamburger, somebody thought at one point, so we reference it as a hamburger menu. If you hit that hamburger menu right there, and then once we hit it, you're going to go to My Lockboxes, and then you see 3 right here, Grant SentriConnect Access. You're going to hit that. You're going to select the property that you're granting this access for from your list. You're going to put the email address in for the person you're granting it for. That's how they registered on their device for their SentriConnect app that they downloaded. You put their email in, you put the duration of time, you grant access, and then it's going to grant them the access. Now, if they say, oh, yeah, I downloaded, I'm registered, if they lied to you or they didn't do it fully, it's going to give you this message that you see that they have not registered to be a SentriConnect user. Really easy right there. You can just hit that blue button to send them the invite. They can register, and then they'll have that access that you're granting them for that period of time. All right. Like I said before, you can revoke it. So revoking access. So here, you would go in to your there where you granted the access, you would hit that, and then say they're done in 3 days instead of 7 or whatever it was, you just revoke the access. Then they can no longer get in. All right. Very different from codes. As you guys probably know, as a listing agent, you're going to get beginning of showing notifications and end of showing. When you assign the box to the property, if you set that up for your homeowner, they're going to get those same things, okay? So hopefully you guys are familiar with that. All right, so tips and tricks to stay connected. So I've heard a lot of feedback. I'm trying to hurry here. I've heard a lot of feedback that out here in the rural area of Michigan, I have all the associations in Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois, so I hear this a lot in this Midwest. I'm from, as you guys heard earlier, I'm from Cincinnati, so I'm familiar with how the Midwest, and there's, you can be in a city and then all of a sudden 10 minutes down the road, you're in farm area, so I get it. But here's some things to keep in mind. So that green check, you want to always make sure that check is green on your app before you leave. That means that you have everything updated, everything's right where it should be. Some helpful hints if you're going to an area where you know there's connectivity issues, have your app open. Have your app open before you leave. Leave it open. That sometimes holds the connection. if you go in to, make sure you're updating the app regularly on the device, make sure you have the most updated. Another thing that's not on the slide that I have witnessed and seen, if you turn your phone into airplane mode and you go out to where the area is that it's not good connectivity, when you click your device off airplane mode, devices are made to the minute you click them off airplane mode to basically try to grab for a signal. So if the signal's faint where you are in a rural area, once you click back from airplane mode, that device is going to do everything it can to reconnect. So those might be some things that help you. Or like I always say, make sure if you know you're going somewhere where it can be really rough connecting, because of the keypad, which is a big separator for us from the other guys, just have yourself a code available. All right, we kind of already talked about agent safety. So here is the website address, if you guys want to take note of that. Your credentials that log you into the app on your phone can also log you into the app on a desktop or laptop computer. And out there, you can look the lockbox up and, to your point, sir, look your lockbox up and look at the events log better than maybe on your phone screen. There's some reports out there that you guys might find helpful. And then this is one of my favorite slides, probably yours too, because it means we're at the end. But SentriLock support, I've heard great reviews from them. I always do. They'll answer your calls in 45 seconds or less. They're equipped to do a lot of things. They're not going to leave you stranded. They're 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 12 midnight, year round. Holidays, they get a little different schedules, but other than that, they're there. There's the tutorials where there's some videos, and then that training site right there. On that training site, lots of helpful how-to videos, a minute to minute, 30 seconds in length. And there's a training calendar that you guys could sign up for sessions that our customer educators do. They're free. You just sign up on that calendar and you join that session on that day and time. And they go through a lot of what I've talked about, plus some other stuff with lockbox functionality. All right, with that, I didn't have anybody flagging me down, but I think it's almost 11:55. So if we have a few more questions, guys, whoever's managing, are we good on time still? Do we have a few minutes left? Good, Devin? Okay. All right, so with, just let me know when we're done. But I mean, that's all I have as far as presentation. So now some further questions. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what we've done for that, or what we're looking to do, improvement, it's in development right now. The question is end of showing notifications. Sometimes he's not getting those. It could be hours later that they're coming up on for a showing that he had. What we're doing is a lot of times an agent, when they're done, and you guys can know if you're guilty of this or not, they will just force close the app. They don't hit the end of showing button. Because of that, it doesn't trigger immediately. And when they force close it, so that's why it can be hours later. What we're doing is we're adding in a feature that if they go to another property to start another showing, then the app will intuitively know, like, oh, they're at another showing. Let me send that end of showing notification out from the previous place. Or once they get about a mile away from the property, we're going to put something in there to where it'll automatically do it. So if you're a forced closer, instead of hitting that end of showing, best practice is hit the end of showing button. It's red, it's right there, hit it. If not, and you force close it. So, yes. You could, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think it would be a big deal, but if you have somebody that's coming into a showing right after, or if you hit that end of showing and notifications go out and you're there for longer and the people are just down the street and they think it's safe to come back with the dog and everybody, and they walk in, you're still there, you're running the risk of that. But yeah, so I mean, my thought would be, again, putting myself in your guys' shoes, would be that I would hit it when we're physically completely out of the property. But I mean, it's your prerogative if you want to do that, but you could just run into that, because if you do it and it sends those, the homeowner, if you set up for the homeowner to get that, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, it's all clear, let's go back. Anybody else with any questions? Yes, sir. The box history? Yeah. Get rid of the, oh, are you talking about your list of lock boxes? Oh, no. The access logs and the events logs, the events log will stay as long as that box lives from its first dealing to the end. And the access log will stay in there too. Yeah, that's part of, that's part. Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about under the message center? Or are you talking about if you go into the box and look at the log? Thank you, everybody, as you're starting to filter out. Thank you for your attention and everything. Yeah.